right at the beginning of sports betting being legalized in Colorado, and it just worked out. And I spent around 10 years in newspapers and then made the frightening decision to get out of newspapers and get into internet marketing. And that's what led me to my current role. And I'd talk about the right play. Uh, Hitting like a 16 leg parlay would probably be the equivalent of that, where you just trust yourself, trust your gut, and it worked out.
Wonderful. So tell me more about what you do at playcolorado.com, Ian.
So, as the content manager, I oversee quite a few of our play sites in the Play Network for Katina Media. PlayColorado.com is one of them. So, I basically help put the content strategy forward and how we want to get sites to get in front of potential bettors, in front of sports fans in specific markets, and creating that news flow of being a trusted source for fans and bettors in those specific markets to trust us, to come to us, to help make them safer and smarter bettors.
That's awesome. What's your favorite part of the industry?
The fact that it's growing, that the fact that
Absolutely.
I mean, there's just no slowing it down. And I think once we get into states legalizing sports betting, we have Ohio coming up. There's potentially North Carolina, maybe Massachusetts, and then you get to the big ones like California, Florida, Texas. But even then, if states realize that they can start getting online casinos and iGaming, that is going to just blow the roof off of this whole industry in terms of online gambling.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time to be in the industry for sure. And I can't wait to see what the next couple years bring. Where do you think the newest legalization is coming first, Ian?
I think it'll be Ohio. I was hoping that they'd be able to get it up before the start of the NFL season. Maybe that can happen. I highly doubt it. I am and the state that I'm most curious about is Texas.
Okay.
If Texas comes on board, that is going to be massive. So we'll see when their state legislature comes up in January of this coming year, 2023. Obviously, California has a couple of ballot measures in place. If Florida ever gets its act together, we'll see. But the one that I'm focused on is Texas, because I mean Texas is the king of sports, and you would think
You would
with
think that'd be first after
yeah,
Nevada.
well, they have a poker game named
Yeah.
after them in Texas Hold'em, so I mean it just makes sense. But we'll
Absolutely
see.
does. Absolutely. Okay. You touched on the NFL, AFC West. You're a Broncos fan. Don't know if you know this. I'm a diehard Chargers fan. What
Oh,
do you
look at
think our
that.
division? What's our division like this season coming up?
I think it's going to be incredible. I think it's going to be fun, and I think it's going to be a lot of stress because I think you have four teams that could potentially. I think well, let's cut out the Raiders. I think we can both agree that as much as I am a Broncos fan, I am also a Raider hater.
Okay.
So, but I don't think the Raiders are going to legitimately be a contender for this division. I think they got lucky last year. So we'll see. I don't think that they're going to be in that class with the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Broncos. I think those three teams and the Raiders in general. I mean, I get it. They have Devontae Adams. They added Chandler Jones with Max Crosby. But I think this division is going to be, it is so stacked. It is going to be so fun. I think there's not going to be any blowouts. I think the thing that I'm excited about most is the Broncos are finally going to end this losing streak to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. I don't know if your listeners know this. The Broncos have not beaten the Kansas City Chiefs since week 2 of the 2015 regular season.
Yeah, it's insane. It's
It,
when you
it's
look at
crazy.
that, right? But with
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, you think that you'll beat them this season?
I think they'll at least beat the Chiefs once. I think they'll split with the Chargers. I think they'll beat the Raiders. They should beat the Raiders twice. But we'll see. I think it's just going to be it's going to be a fun division. It's going to be the best division in football, and the games are just going to be insane. I think you're going to see high scoring games. I don't think there's going to be a lot of defense played in these games, especially the interdivision games. And whoever comes out of this division is going to be primed to be one of the top 2 seeds in the AFC.
Okay, so going into that first game, you guys now have Russell Wilson as your quarterback, headed into Seattle for that first game. How do you think that's going to go?
I don't think it's going to be a close game. I don't.
Yep.
Especially if Drew Lock is the quarterback for the Broncos or for the Seahawks. I don't see it. I think Russell Wilson and the Broncos are going to be a machine this year. I think they're going to be incredibly tough to beat. I think this offense has the potential to put up a lot of points. The defense, people forget that Vic Fangio had a defense that was one of the best in football. And I think what kept that team back last year was the inability to score points, especially touchdowns. And now that you have a quarterback who can do that, it's going to start putting the pieces together. It's going to make the defense better. It's going to make the special teams better. But as a Broncos fan, the special teams couldn't get any worse than they were the last couple of years. So at least that's looking up.
Yeah.
But I think Russell Wilson, the old cliche, like when Peyton Manning signed in 2012, Russell Wilson is one of those players that raises all boats. And I think that's going to be seen with how they come out and they play this year. And that's going to start in Seattle.
Absolutely. Do you have the offensive line to protect him, do you think?
I think so. I think they, especially getting Billy Turner, who played with Nathaniel Hackett and was in this system the last couple of years in Green Bay, so he can be that source that other offensive linemen, especially in the room, if they have a question or they don't know exactly what they should be doing, they can go to Billy Turner. On top of going to Russell Wilson, who I think has dived into this offense. It's the second that he got traded, or it was going to be known that he was going to be traded. So I think they have the offensive line in place. What will be curious is what they do at guard, right guard in particular. Do they go with Graham Glasgow, or do they go with the young guy in Quinn Meniere's center? Do they go with Lloyd Cushenberry? I think that's where they're going to lean, but they have some depth now to potentially compete at the center position for Lloyd Cushenberry, but I think Dalton Reisner had his best year in an offense that was similar to this with Rich Scangarello when he was the offensive coordinator in the first year of Vic Fangio's time in Denver. And then Garrett Bowles. I think Garrett Bowles has proven to be, after a sluggish start to his career, he's proven to be one of the better tackles in football. And I think having Russell Wilson back there is going to make Garrett Bowles better, but the entire offensive line better.
Well, the AFC West is going to be a phenomenal division to watch this season. Best of luck to your Denver Broncos, except for when they play my Chargers, for sure. Let's talk about another team that is near and dear to your heart. We have the Colorado Avalanche. They're playing tomorrow night against the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to have the Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid battle here. What are you expecting for this, Ian?
I am expecting a fun series. I think that's the theme for my bit here is fun, because that's what I said about the AFC West. I think what we're going to see is the Colorado Avalanche playing freer. I thought that you saw them, especially in the 2 games they lost to St. Louis. They started to hold their sticks a little bit tighter. They wanted to get over that second round hurdle. And I think now going into the conference finals, finally getting over that loss to Vegas, the loss to the Dallas Stars, the loss to the San Jose Sharks, I think you're going to see them play freer. And I think the thing that's going to turn this series in favor of the Avalanche is their depth. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it's going to overcome how great Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are. And what will be very interesting, since the Avalanche have home ice in this series, is the matchups that Jared Bednar puts forth. Who does he put out against Connor McDavid? And do the Oilers stack up and go Draisaitl McDavid? Or do they try to keep the Avalanche and the coaching staff, do they try to keep them on their heels, not knowing when they're going to stack Draisaitl and McDavid together? But the thing is, Bednar can do that too, because he can throw out McKinnon, Landeskog, and Rantanen together. And so I think the one thing that's going to turn this series around is the depth for the Avalanche. And I think their physicality. A lot of people don't realize how physical the Avalanche can be. And I thought we saw that in Game 6 with the way the fourth line played of Cagliano, Logan O'Connor, easy for me to say, and Darren Helm.
Yeah.
So the physicality and the depth, I think, is going to be what helps the Avalanche in this series. But it's going to be so much fun. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. I don't think it's going to be like the first two series of your Calgary Flames and in the Battle of
Yeah.
Alberta with Edmonton. I don't
Was
think we're going to get to that level where I thought I heard Holden on your show last week talking about how he was live betting 16 or 15 for the total. I don't think we're going to get to that insane level, but it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of fast skill, a lot of it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be like watching pond hockey, just maybe not as many goals as the Battle of Alberta.
Yeah, you have to feel pretty confident in here in your offensive power against the Edmonton Oilers, who do have a weaker defense. I was shocked at how well they did play against Calgary. And coming in here with Mike Smith, he's still a question mark for me. It's hard for me to say, the Edmonton Oilers could take this series. I think with your goaltending with Kemper in there, and you are, like you said, the deeper team, stronger on both sides of the puck, I really could see other than if Nathan McKinnon and Draisaitl just keep lighting up that net, that Colorado takes this series in 5 or 6.
I totally agree with you. And you mentioned Darcy Kemper. I think he's going to play freer too. I feel like the whole team, whether they would admit it or not, and those two games that they lost, I think it was game 2 and it was game 5. You could just tell that they felt the stress of this. Like they were so close, but they're like, man, we just got to get through this. And then the way they come out and to score with 5 seconds left to get over that hurdle, I think you're going to see Darcy Kemper play freer. I think you're going to see this team play freer. And I think you're going to see the best Avs that we've seen in the playoffs. And that's saying something because they swept Nashville and they beat St. Louis. St. Louis is a very deep. St. Louis, I think, is a deeper team than Edmonton because remember, they have like 9-20 goal scorers on that team. And they have a guy in Ryan O'Reilly who just wills his team to play the way that he does. He is a phenomenal captain. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think Colorado has the depth. I think they have the defensive pairings to match up against the forward lines that the Oilers are going to throw out. And I'm curious to see the key to this series for me, at least offensively, is does Mikko Rantanen show up? Because if he's able to get on the score sheet, he has 1 goal through the first 8 wins for the Avalanche, which is incredible that you have 1 goal from Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he's able to show up and to play the way everyone knows that the Moose can play, it's just going to make the Avalanche better. But I agree with you. I think it'll be a 5 or 6 game series win for the Avalanche.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We do have 1 game 7 left tonight between the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. Can this series get a winner that is not the home team? Can we see the New York Rangers pull this off? Or are you banking the Carolina Hurricanes take this one tonight?
That's so incredible that the Carolina Hurricanes have not lost at home, but they also haven't won on the road.
No, it's crazy.
That's insane.
Lost 12 at home as a favorite. They've won.
I think the one way that the Rangers can go in to Carolina and win this game is Igor Shesterkin. He has the ability to stand on his head and steal a game.
Yeah.
If he can do it in game 7, he's going to be the Vezina Trophy winner. I think everyone listening to this and watching knows that Shesterkin is going to be the Vezina Trophy winner. He's one of the best goalies in the game. If he can go in and steal a game in game 7 for his team, that would make him the best goalie in the game right now, I think. And would I bet it? My gut is saying that the Carolina Hurricanes are going to come through. I think there is no greater example of a team playing like its head coach than the Carolina Hurricanes. Yeah. This team plays like Rod Brind'Amour. It is incredible that it has the same makeup of him. It's like they've taken how he played throughout the course of his career and emboldened it into the entire roster that the Carolina Hurricanes have. It is incredible. So I think they're going to take advantage of that home crowd in Raleigh. I think they're going to come out. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Rangers definitely have the ability to do it. They have the depth. They have the goal scorers with Kreider and Panarin and Dimajad, and but I don't think they're going to be able to overcome that home. I mean, that's tough. I
It
mean,
is.
just look at what the Rangers did against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They won their game 7 at home, and I think
Yeah.
but you can flip that and say Tampa also went on the road and beat Toronto in game 7. So
Absolutely. I think the best bet for the Rangers to get the win tonight is to frustrate Carolina, get Carolina in that penalty box, because the Rangers, when they serve less minutes in the penalty box, and they're pretty good at, keeping it to 8.1 penalty minutes per game in their last 10, if they can frustrate Carolina, I think they could pull off the upset.
absolutely. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to try to, before the whistle, grate their skin, do a little face wash, maybe do a little jab. But you want to make sure, and Jared Bednar said this about the Avalanche, as soon as the whistle is over, it ends.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a stupid hockey team. And the last thing that you want to do is take a stupid penalty in game 7. And to flip back to Colorado and Edmonton, I think that's the key for Colorado too. You do not want to give the Edmonton Oilers power play opportunities with that stacked. I mean, we know about McDavid and Draisaitl, but you do not want to give a team like Edmonton power play opportunities, and that's the case in a game 7. So who can take advantage of the opportunities? That's what it comes down to in a game 7, because you don't have many of them. It's going to come down to it could be a fluke or two. Who gets the puck luck?
Yeah. Puck luck is huge, especially in these games here. Well, enjoy the game tonight, Ian. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Can you remind everyone where to find you on socials and Play Colorado as well?
You can find me on the Twitter machine at Ian St. Clair. You can also follow Play Colorado at Colorado_play, and playcolorado.com, your one-stop shop to help make Colorado bettors safer and smarter bettors.
Thank you, Ian. Appreciate your time today. You guys, I will be back later this afternoon with another Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Ian, happy Memorial Day.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.